Hello, everybody. Welcome to TestFlex 2022. A big thank you for the Test Tribe community for arranging such a wonderful event. Today, I will be addressing a very interesting topic, which is about the test engineer's career path. So, hence the title, Spoilt by Choice or Driven by Myth. So before I move ahead, let me introduce you myself. I am Sowmya and I'm working as an engineering manager for the quality division at Lateral. I'm highly passionate about test automation and any technological solutions, and I truly believe in inclusive development. When it comes to a change or a growth, I truly believe in these three quotes, and I thought, why not just share it with a wider group? Here it is. The only person you're destined to become is the person you decide to be, by Ralph Waldo. Think like a person you want to become, anonymous. It is never too late to be the person you want to be, and that is so true. It's never late. According to the recent survey by the Economic Times, of various reasons that was provided to choose for the career movement, the top three that stood out was the work-life balance, the better salary, and the greater ambition. Post-pandemic, work-life being has been the major reason why people are choosing to shift their career or the job, which is followed by the better salary, of course, in conjunction with the greater ambition of doing something more purposeful in life. So when it comes to the career shift for a test engineer, I definitely can put it across like octo-dimensional, but let's stick with the three dimension for now. Easier to digest and more information can be put up in the less time. One is the natural progression, which we all understand by and large, which happens naturally without much of effort or thought. The next is a specialization where people move on to pick up something that's very interesting, or they grow affinity towards one particular area of engineering and they pursue that. The most debatable and the most hot topic in the present market is the lateral change. We can have a deep look into each of these dimensions in the coming slides. So let us look at the first dimension, which is the natural progression. And here I want to introduce you to a strategy called a farming strategy or a hunting strategy. So what does a farmer do is you stay in the role for long and you progress along with the role or the path without getting deviated. You just stick to the company, stick to the ecosystem, and grow yourself over a period of time, picking up the skills that's required for the application, the solution building. Whereas a hunting strategy is you stay in the company, pick up the skills, and then immediately move on to some other company for a better hike or better prospects. It can be anything. So both these comes under the concept of natural progression. So what happens here, you assume the role of associate test engineer and you gradually over a period of time assume a senior role and pick up and move on to become a principal or the lead, where it's a kind of you dabble around as a spokesperson between a business and the team. You'll also be technical, whereas a little bit businessy as well. Then natural progression is good for the people who are planning to assume senior leadership roles, because whenever there is an opportunity within an organization where the roles open up for the senior leadership team, anything above the manager, the usual manager or the engineering manager level, candidates who have been associated within the company for long are the natural choice, simply because they have grown over a period of time. They have been associated with the company for long. One, of course, is a loyalty. Second thing, you understand the ecosystem much better than anyone else. You understand the technicalities of the company much better than anyone else who have been laterally hired. So on a longer range, so you have to sit back and think for yourself, are you interested to be taking a plunge towards senior leadership roles? If that is the case, then just organically grow in this role. Just go ahead however the role takes you, and just keep yourself available for the senior leadership as and when it opens up, and then you grow naturally for the CX roles. Easier said than done. It's not a low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of effort and challenges and the skill changes that is required. And this is applicable for all dimensions anyways. The second dimension, which is a specialization. Like I said, specialization is you foray into a particular dimension of either a technology or the domain and dive deep into it, touching the ocean's bed. You become the master of this art and you pick up a particular niche area in the industry and you follow the path. When it comes to the specialization, first thing you have to understand, there's nothing called roles. At some point, you will be generalized as either a lead or a consultant. The main advantage of a specialization is because you're a master of a particular art. Post pandemic, remote working has opened up multiple barriers. It's cross geography. There are many markets who are looking for the specialists who can really help them in their digital transformation journey. Companies which are not inherently technical, like for example Google or SAP, they were by nature a tech product companies, whereas companies like home appliances or footwear companies who are planning to get into the internet or the online business to make their footprint available for the worldwide, they are getting into the digital transformation and they want tech people as a part of their wing to develop their technological solutions and help them grow exponentially. So these type of the businesses are really looking for these specialists. And having said again, this is a very fierce market. 1 out of 10 may be really lucky to grow to a length and depths that one may really think of, but you definitely can sustain as long as you are gathering the latest technological trends that is happening in the market. So there is a continuous learning that is definitely required. Now, let me break down a little bit on the technical and the domain part. What do you mean by technical is, let's say, for example, as a performance test engineer or a security engineer, or maybe even a GDPR, accessibility. These are a particular vertical of an engineering where people are looking for the specialists who can come in, walk in, help them set things up, and maybe sometimes even walk out. So that is another catch in the specialization, that there is no guarantee how long one can stay in this role. So after some period of time, maybe like 10, 15 years working associated with the company, most of them, this is the usual trend, most of them, what they do is they keep themselves away as an individual person working as a freelancer or a consultant, providing or charging on a per hour basis. And it works well because they will generate their own leads and they will be billing their customer according to the need. The catch is mostly you sustain in this role on a word of mouth and mostly through references. And also the idea of generation of the lead is completely on your shoulders. So how you stay afloat in this market is again is a part of your responsibility when you become a specialist. So the natural question is, can I not remain as a specialist associated for a particular company? You definitely can. But if the idea is to earn or make more bucks and have grow financially, this model works better where you move out as a freelancer or a consultant, and then you help companies setting up their technological solutions from your standpoint of mastery. Similarly applies for the domain specialization. What is a domain specialization? So we know there are many test engineers who will be working on a particular product, like let me say, for example, like Salesforce, or it may be SAP or Oracle, Amazon. So these companies have their own product solution offerings, which will be used by multiple other customers out there in the market to build their solution on top of this foundation. So those customers or the clients will be looking for people with this niche skills who can help them in understand this ecosystem or this foundation layer better, so that they can build their solution on top of this. It's mostly like an integration scenario. One other thing that I would like to highlight in the specialization is at some point there is no role change as such. Like for 10 years, 15 years in this role, the max you can think of here is mostly as a consultant or a lead. You may not see any CX role associated with the specialization. No. So that's the catch here. If you're a person who's looking for or who gets motivated with the name of the role, then really you may have to give it a little thought that do you really want to go with the specialization, because there definitely is a career and the movement and also the financial aspect. However, there's no associated role which can bump up to say, you know what, I'm in a CX role of this specialization. So coming to the most hot topic, the lateral shift for the quality test or quality or the test engineer. This is, like I said, it's a hot debated topic and the most interested, where many test engineers in my mentoring sessions as well, they keep asking, I am a test engineer. I work closely with my Scrum Master. Can I just change my role to a Scrum Master? Is it difficult or easy? I like being a product owner. How difficult or easy is it? Questions like these keeps popping up over and again, and people keep chasing these questions. And I thought, why not address this in this wide platform for the benefit of everybody. So before I move ahead, I would like to show a small picture of an agile team interaction for a quality engineer, where there are several roles that's involved, but by and large, a quality or a test engineer will be associated or be shadowing developer and operations more closely. To some extent, data scientists as well. This role is not available in every Scrum team. Some large organizations do involve data scientists as part of their analytics and stuff like that. So since there is a possibility, I've just added in there, and then there is a PO and a Scrum Master. While we are on this topic, I would like to talk something about skill perception. Every role in the market comes with certain skills involved. It's self-explanatory. Nobody had to dig deep to say, okay, this role may also need this. So there is certain group or skills that's assumed to come along with the role. Like if I say I'm a test engineer, I'm assumed and it is also perceived that I know how to test an application, the type of test techniques I have to apply, how to do a POC with the automated tests, on which tool to implement, maybe a little bit of test ops as well, which is a good to have, but not like mandatory in the current market, but it's going to be mandatory in next few years, however. So there's like a perception that is inbuilt already in the market. So likewise, if you take a backend developer, it's already perceived that the person will have a very strong programming skills. The person will be knowing how to work behind load balancers or firewalls. They understand security, coding skills, best practices, and everything that comes along with it. So it is not explicitly mentioned, but inherently understood that this skill and this role go hand in hand. So when you as a test engineer would like to do the lateral shift from being a test engineer or a quality engineer to anything else as a part of your as a part of the agile development team, like moving on from a test engineer as an operations, or from moving on as a test engineer into the data analytics, then there are a few steps that you may have to take. The first thing is to identify what skills are perceived to be inherent to that role that I am planning to aim at. The second, how will I be able to fill up this gap or build this perception around my resume or my profile so that when I apply to these jobs, it is assumed that I am selling out like I have these skills or the roles, or at least I have been introduced to these and I know how to make my way around it. And third, how I can make my profile more stronger by generating some evidences. So going further with the skill perception in the market, I have taken one simple example between a product manager and a test engineer, because 8 out of 10 test engineers or the quality engineers with at least 10 to 15 years of experience are looking towards picking up product management as their next logical move. So I thought, why not just use this as a very good example to present. There's a small disclaimer that I would like to give here, that when we talk about certain skills, the usage and the probability of the usage and the extent of this usage varies to every role. When I say critical thinking, the critical thinking that is required for the product management role is entirely different as compared to what a test engineer does. Sometimes it is limited to technical aspect, and sometimes it's much more than the technical aspects. And this map that I have tried to map between a test engineer and the product manager for a specific skill set is just an example. It can go much beyond this. So let's start looking at few things. When we speak about the test engineer, we generally do not associate portfolio management or sales to a test engineer. They usually doesn't come into the day-to-day routine unless you're in a startup or a pre-startup where you're enthusiastic to do multiple roles in the team, and you don't mind, working 24/7 because you're interested. So that's a different ball game altogether, and I'm not addressing that crowd at all. But by and large, if you see the skills vis-a-vis between a test engineer and the product manager, portfolio management, sales, budgeting, and forecast is not something that a test engineer does on a day-to-day basis in any company for that matter. Interviews and surveys, again, it's with regards to the customers and not as interviews means a hiring interviews. No, not that. Emotional intelligence. Test engineers do have emotional intelligence. It's mostly to deal within their team, whereas that emotional intelligence that is required for a product manager goes with the team and beyond the team. Accountability, of course, should be high for both these roles. There is one cannot be less than the other. Critical thinking, problem solving, you need a little more as a product manager as compared to a test engineer. So if you're the one person who are looking to move yourself into the product management, firstly is to identify the skills that is perceived in the market that is associated with this product management. Secondly, to understand to my role, what is a perception that already exists, to what extent. And thirdly, how I can bump my profile in such a way that people or the hiring managers can really understand that I can do justice for this movement, and that becomes easier for the movement. It bumps your profile and you as a person. It's easier for you to have a conversation. Another topic that I would like to address is when you do the lateral shift, it need not necessarily mean a progression. It simply means you're doing a different career option. Sometimes it is possible to get the same pay range, or sometimes it may take a dip simply because you're moving laterally. You may have to take multiple other skills that is required, and then grow in that role where you definitely can see the change over a period of time financially. Another part is also that you may be a lead or a manager in the testing or the engineering range, but then when you do a lateral shift, there is a possibility that you may have to take a dip. Like you may join as an associate product owner or a junior product manager, and then make your way up in the ladder. In all of these scenarios, lateral shifts are a little tricky and also challenging as compared to specialization or the natural progression. So here we are almost at the end of this topic. I hope to have given enough information about the natural progression, specialization, and lateral shift. Trust me, it doesn't end here. It's actually the beginning. So please do not think as being a test engineer or testing as an option is gonna stagnate your career. It's definitely not the case. No matter what dimension you choose, every dimension has its own challenge. So just take a step back, introspect, see what interests you, what's your appetite towards risk, what's your appetite towards technical aspects, and then just chase the path. Thank you so much for your time and listening to me. Feel free to connect with me or leave a comments below. We can always have a chat about this topic. Thank you once again. Thanks, Displex.